Hello, it's me again, in a surprisingly more talkative role this time. So I thought I'd deliver this final video at the end of 2011, last minute, a little rushed, but hey, my videos aren't that big quality anyway. But they have stepped up a little bit because I am now using a brand new camera. This is my brand new HD camera. So you should get better sound and video quality in my videos now, and you should be able to watch them in HD. And I'll be able to compare with my Pinnacle editing software a lot better. So, what am I doing here right now? Well, what I'm doing is I'm listing off the best and worst that have happened this year in 2011. At least in my personal retrospective, because I've not seen or done everything that has been available this year. I've only done the big things and the things that I've wanted to do personally. So I'm just going to list off my favourite and least favourite films, video games, and pretty much anything else that leaps to my mind. Okay? So start off with films, we'll start off with the good first, is Captain America. Now, many people have called this movie the perfect superhero movie, and I wouldn't completely agree, but I will say it's a very good superhero action movie. It's got a lot of action, very well developed characters, a right amount of comedy, very good acting, and very good writing.
This isn't a back alley, Steve, it's war.
That's really all I got to say about it, really. I didn't think it was a brilliant movie. That was reserved for XMen First Class. This was my superhero movie of the year. This was my favourite movie of the year. It is brilliant. It got James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Kevin Bacon, pretty much anybody you can imagine you would think would make a good superhero actor is in this movie. And it's just brilliant. It's the kind of superhero movie I've wanted to see since Spider-Man came out almost 10 years ago. And I would definitely give it a recommendation. Great acting, great action, great special effects, great comedy, and the two montages, the one where they're searching for mutants and the one where they're training the mutants, are two of the best montages I've ever seen in a movie.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lenstra.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
So it's definitely a recommendation for me. Moving on, one that hasn't been cracking a lot of top 10s recently is the Inbetweeners movie. Now, I'll say it right up now, I'm not a big fan of the Inbetweeners. I'm really not. I only really liked the second series. That one was by far the funniest and had the best jokes and was the one that developed the characters the most. But the movie was friggin' hilarious. It was everything I loved about the second series put into movie format. It had great jokes, it had great teen humour, it developed the characters perfectly. It just had a great story, and it ended off everything on a very good, happy note that had some good, sad moments and really just disgusting moments. But that's what we love about the Inbetweeners, isn't it?
Stick with me, you'll be fine. Better not get stuck with a fat one.
Now, of course, the one that everybody's been talking about this year, the one that pretty much everybody is saying is the best movie to come out of 2011, Super 8. I think it's alright. I don't think it's brilliant. I definitely don't like it as much as other people have been saying it is. I will say, though, as far as a movie goes that's trying to recapture the feeling of a Spielberg flick, it's definitely that. It has the great feel of Close Encounters, Duel, Jaws, E.T., and what really made me connect to this movie is the kids, because these kids are making their own Super 8 film for a film festival, and I can relate to that because I'm doing exactly what they're doing in my own life right now. Though it kind of makes my films look like shit, though, because they're making a Super 8 film about zombies in the 80s, and it already looks a million times better than what I would make, and it's still shit anyway.
How am I supposed to be a zombie?
But moving on. As for worst movies... Oh no, I left one out. Two out actually. Cowboys and Aliens. Brilliant movie. It was just a lot of fun to watch. Harrison Ford, Daniel Craig, Sam Rockwell, they were all great. Great action. great story, really, for what you give it. If you don't take it too seriously, which I think a lot of people have, which is why it's getting criticised so much, you'll enjoy it a lot. But if you take it too seriously, you're gonna hate this movie, because really, there's a lot to not like if you take it too seriously. But just enjoy it for what it is. It's good on both sides of the fence. It's a good Western and a good alien sci-fi. And really, it really highlights how great an actor Harrison Ford can be. And Daniel Craig's American accent is surprisingly very good. Like, it never stands out that he's British a whole lot in the movie.
Turn around and start walking.
But yeah, it's a definite recommendation for me. And the final movie that I'm going to list off as one of the best of this year. Surprisingly, a lot of people haven't been putting this on their top 10, which really shocks me because I thought it was brilliant. Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn. I fucking loved this movie. It's next to XMen on my favourite movie of the year. I mean, it had great animation, great voice acting, great action, which is surprising because it's kind of a family film, but it had really good action in it. It got really dark at times, but it was really good on achieving it. It had decent comedy. It wasn't brilliant. Came off as a little bit slapsticky at times, but it was alright. As far as voice acting goes, Daniel Craig, again, good Daniel Craig movie this year, he did a pretty good job as the villain, Arkham, but he wasn't fantastic. Who was fantastic was Andy Serkis as Haddock. Holy fuck, this guy was brilliant. He had the great Scottish accent, the great drunken voice, the great headstrong, imposing personality. It just looked like everything I would imagine a drunk Scottish sailor would be. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost were alright, but they were a little annoying sometimes, and I could barely tell them apart when they were talking. I can't remember who played Tintin, but he didn't really leave that much of an impression on me.
You looked a little cold, so I lit a wee fire. In a boat! Well, this is a fine mess.
So that's definitely one I recommend to get people, but unfortunately I don't have the DVD of either of the last two mentioned movies, which is annoying because I really like those ones. But it's not me to blame. But anyway, worst of the year. I only really saw two this year that really pissed me off. There is another one I'll mention, but I think I'm just going to put it on here because I don't think anybody's going to like this movie this year. But anyway, the first one that I did see that really pissed me off, Pirates of the Caribbean 4, was just boring. I liked the first one, the second one was alright, I hated the third one. I wanted to see the fourth one just to see if they could, pick the series back up and bring it back to the roots of the first one. It didn't. It just felt like a shortened version of the third one, which is stupid anyway, because this one's already ridiculously long. There are some positives. Johnny Depp's still great. Ian McShane's really good as Blackbeard. Surprisingly, the mermaids were really cool to watch with the way they were like werewolf vampire things. But aside from that, it really wasn't all that interesting. The plot just wasn't there. The action was kind of flawed. I will give, what's his name? I don't know, the guy that played Barbossa, he was good, the Australian actor, I can't remember his name. But he was good, but he felt kind of tired, like he didn't want to be in the movie anymore. But, yeah, Penelope Cruz just didn't do it for me. She was better than Keira Knightley, but she just wasn't all that interesting.
You wouldn't be interested in joining me, would you? Hey?
So yeah, definitely not a recommended film for me. And the next movie is just... I don't even know why I saw this movie. I guess I was just so bored over the summer holidays I would have taken anything that I'd been given. But Green Lantern, my god, it was awful. Terrible, terrible story, dialogue, acting, action, effects. It was all just so bad. The second you see the first villain, you'll want to walk out of the theatre. He looks ridiculous. He looks like he's got a friggin' brain tumour. Who's gonna find that intimidating? And by the time he goes into this last form, he looks like a piece of shit on fire. That's not scary. But yeah, it's really not all that great. I don't even want to list off the individual things like who the actors were, who did the effects. It was just terrible.
It chose you. Use its power.
So those were the two that I did see. The one that I want to list off that I didn't see, but I just want to put it on here anyway, because I don't want anybody to see this movie, including myself. The Smurfs. Fuck me, that looks awful. I've not even seen the movie, and I don't want to just say, oh, that movie looks awful, so I immediately hate it, and even though I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, and I'll fully admit I'm going a little bit, judge a book by its cover on this, but really, the Smurfs, and in the time when the Owl and the Chipmunks movie turned out to be terrible, you really think the Smurfs is going to turn out to be a good movie? Fuck no, it's going to turn out to be a terrible piece of shit that even the kids aren't going to like.
Yeah, but you're milking it. Don't milk it.
And then they made a dance game, and that was terrible too. Oh, and speaking of games, smooth transition there. Right? Right? No, it wasn't. Speaking of games, let's go on to the best games of the year. Now, admittedly, while I do play a lot of video games, I didn't play a lot of the games that came out this year. I only have really 2 of my favourite games that came out this year. First, as you will probably guess, is Batman Arkham City in all its steelbook glory. Many people have said that, much like Captain America, this is the perfect superhero video game, but unlike Captain America, I will have to agree that this game is amazing. The story mode is kind of short when you're just going through it as itself, but even if you don't care about the side missions, you'll want to play the story again. It is brilliant. Great story, great voice acting, great graphics, and the gameplay is phenomenal. It's not like anything you'll ever play in a game. And if you compare it to another game, it's going to ruin the experience for you. So just enjoy it for what it is, which is one of the best games of the year, if not the best.
This place is dangerous. I like it.
And the final game that I've played and I do own that I'll say is one of the best games of the year, which is surprising to some people, since a lot of people are probably not going to have to play this, Rayman Origins. And yes, I do have the collector's edition in its ridiculously huge box. Which is stupid anyway, considering that it's just the regular game on the inside. But this game, it's just so much fun to play. It is such a great throwback to the classic platformers of the 80s and 90s. It's bringing Rayman back to its roots, which is 2D platforming, which is great to see after all the 3D crap and the mini-games with the Rabbids and such, which I do like, but come on, you can't beat original Rayman. It's got him in it again and all his sidekicks. The one thing I find confusing is it's rated 7, and apart from the fairies, which I will say is a bit risque, it really should just be a 3. It's really not all that something that 3-year-olds are going to find, offensive or risky.
Rayman!
But yeah, this was a great game, and it's probably my favourite of the year, even though I've only played it for a few days after getting it for Christmas. But really, this is one of the best of the year. So like I said, that's the best games I've played this year. The worst are some of the ones that I've only rented. And like I said, the Smurfs was on there. Hulk Hogan's... that Hulk Hogan wrestling game, that was really bad. But again, I've only just played that with a friend, and I haven't really played it legitimately. So really, I don't have much to say, because it's easier to avoid a bad video game than it is to avoid a bad movie. So definitely, just Smurfs and Hulk Hogan, that's all I got to say about bad video games this year, so yeah. So on to just the miscellaneous stuff. This is going to sound kind of odd, because like Rayman, not a lot of people I know or watch my videos are going to be seeing this, because it's only started introduced earlier on in the year, and it's travelling around right now, but not a lot of people are seeing it. But I thought it was great. It was probably the highlight of my year, was when I went to see Sweeney Todd the musical at the Chichester Festival Theatre, featuring Michael Ball and Imelda Staunton. That was a fantastic play. It was probably the best stage show I've ever seen. And I do youth tech at the Chichester Festival Theatre, so I was able to get in to see it for free, which was brilliant. And I was a little skeptical at first because I hadn't seen the Tim Burton movie, and I did know what the basic plot was. Guy runs a barbershop above a pie shop where he slaughters people and sends them down to be made into pies by his accomplice. So I went in not really knowing what to expect, but when I went out of the theatre, I was flabbergasted by the sheer greatness of the direction, the composition. The composed musical score was brilliant, the acting was great, the sets... Well, okay, I say the acting. Really, Imelda Staunton and Michael Ball were only the really good characters in the movie. The side characters felt a little undeveloped, except for the kid. He was also really good. But yeah, it had great set design, it had great atmosphere. There were many parts of the film where the audiences were jumping out their seats going, "Ugh!"
Michael Ball, at all the pies.
But yeah, it was a really good play, and I had seen the Tim Burton movie a couple of weeks after seeing the play. Not nearly as good. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love it, but really the only thing I find better about the Tim Burton movie is the opening sequence, which I have to give Tim Burton credit for because he's great at creating opening sequences. But that's the only thing better than this movie. In this movie, aside in the play, aside from the side characters who are done much better in the movie, in my opinion, but that's only because they got big name actors behind them, whereas in the play they were only just sort of extras. But yeah, that was really good. I will mention that this year's series of Doctor Who was quite entertaining, and I will say I did like the idea of splitting it up into two halves over the course of the year, because it adds more suspense when it's, you know, chopped in half, and like a whole mystery of like, oh, where's Melody? Oh, what's going on? Where's the Doctor going? What's happening? Yeah, that was okay. There were some bad episodes in the mix, but otherwise it was an enjoyable experience, to say the least. And I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, so naturally I loved it. I don't know if there's anything I could really mention this year, because not a lot did happen, because, you know, 2011 sort of sandwiched in between the turn of the decade with 2010, which was a great year. It had loads of stuff going on in it, and it's trapped between the big year 2012, which is where the Olympics are going to happen. It's where all the big hit movies are coming out, like The Avengers. Not to mention there's the whole end of the world phenomenon, which, if anybody are wondering on my skepticism with that, I'm not really a believer. But the fact is that the date of when it's happening, 21st December, is my birthday. It's a little bit worrying for me. But yeah, 2011 sort of sandwiched between these two really hyped, really good years, so naturally it's kind of going to be shoved into the background and not be paid attention to much. But yeah, as far as movies and video games go, it was a great year, and it did have some good other things. And so yeah, that's really 2011 in a nutshell. What happened for me this year? Well, of course, I released a lot of my own videos. I had my music videos, I had my Easter egg annual videos. I don't think I'll be able to do a snowman video before the end of the year, because it's definitely not going to snow, at least not in 2011. Hopefully it will in 2012, and I can make a good video of a snowman being smashed up then. I'm not going to spoil it what I'm going to smash it up with, but it's definitely going to be as good as my other two. Which, ironically, when you think about it, were actually released in the same year, the beginning and end of 2010. So yeah, I did my annual Easter bunny video. I did a video of me messing around with my laptop and new camera tricks. Three video game tributes, one for Mario, Mortal Kombat, and Rayman, which was the video I released yesterday. And so yeah, it's probably been my busiest year videos wise, and I've got college and, like I said, my youth tech, so I'm not going to be able to release as many videos as I used to. So when they come out, they're going to be probably a bit shorter than they used to be, but they're going to be better because I'm progressively getting better in video making skills. So yeah, so I'm hoping for lots of big things happening in the future, so until next time, this is HeadphonesUK, signing out.